There was a season in my life not too long ago where my days were packed to the brim. It was an endless cycle of doing. I felt clear and certain of my place and my purpose. There was a plan and a momentum to all of it. But then, the rhythm broke. It didn't happen all at once, but one day, the light felt too bright, the air too heavy, and the simplest tasks, the ones I used to do without even thinking, suddenly became mountains for me. Things life-giving, like showering and cooking, I was simply existing. There were entire days where the world outside moved forward and I stayed still. Watching the seasons change through a window I didn't even have the strength to open. Time blurred. And for the first time ever, everything stopped. This didn't only happen physically, I felt it on a soul level. Like something inside me had decided it could no longer keep pace with a life that wasn't fully mine. I used to think stillness was a waste of time, but now I actually see it as the beginning of listening, of finally hearing that quiet voice beneath all the noise. The one that asks, what do you actually need? Not just to function on the surface, but to feel whole. Slowly, I started returning to the surface, getting a little stronger. Curious to see if I still somehow fit into the life that I left behind. At first, I tried to slip right back into it, to pick up where I'd paused. But this time was different. I couldn't do it anymore. Familiar rhythms now felt foreign. Things that once felt exciting now made me ache in a way that I couldn't explain. So I stepped back again, but this time with intention. Now my days move differently. They end earlier, in quiet evenings where rest feels like a gift instead of a reward. They begin with sunrise, bare feet on the earth. I wake not to scroll, not to rush, not to do, but to notice. To be with what is right here. There are still responsibilities, of course, but they arrive with less urgency now. I've let go of the habit of splitting myself in 100 directions. No more television buzzing in the background. No more constant multitasking. Just presence. Just the satisfaction of doing one thing fully. I truly can't help but wonder if I'm not the only one who is feeling this way. Even if you haven't personally walked through chronic illness, maybe you've still felt that dull ache of disconnection. That burnout type of exhaustion that not only comes from doing too much, but also from being pulled into a million different directions. And then combine that with the endless scrolling and the endless noise coming in from the outside world telling us that we're not enough. Social media tells us what our home should look like, how we should behave, how we should dress, what success looks like. But when do we stop to ask, what do we actually want? One of my biggest turning points came when I got off all social media, all television. I did an entertainment fast for over 30 days where I didn't even read books. And I sat with myself and journaled and asked myself, what do I really think? What do I really want? And it wasn't until I intentionally blocked out all of the noise, all of the content that has been created by other people to influence us, that I was able to sit down and finally hear myself for the first time. I was finally able to sit down and ask myself these questions that I had never even paused long enough to ask. Who am I? What do I love? What do I need? What do I want my life to look like now and 10 years from now? What do I want my life to feel like? And woven through every question that I asked myself, I realized there was actually a deeper question. What is God asking of me in this season of my life? What would it mean to live not only a present life, but a surrendered one? I spent the next stretch of time over many, many months quietly rearranging and reorganizing my life in a multitude of different ways. I purged my house of all of the clutter, adopting a more minimalist type lifestyle that made me feel freer and freer with every item that I donated, sold, or trashed. Not only did I get rid of objects, but I also got rid of expectations and old identities that no longer fit me anymore. And going through this process, I realized some very important things. The more that I consume, the less I create and the less connected I feel. But when I stop and I intentionally come back to the present moment, I return to myself. And so now, I try to live life a little differently. There's more space in my days to breathe. For laughter, for connection, for hobbies and cooking and presence. There's a rhythm again, but this time the rhythm is mine and it's life-giving. And so now I return, not to who I was, but to who I am becoming. And maybe that's the entire point. That life isn't about catching up or proving or achieving or performing. Maybe it's about presence. About choosing what is right here every single day and calling it enough. So I will ask you, as I continue asking myself, what would your life feel like if you finally let it be yours? I have spent enough of my life preparing to live. I don't want to waste one more moment anywhere but here.